Hey everybody, I'm Robert, and this show is not brought to you by Groundies. Go let them know that I should get a brand deal and a free pair of shoes. I really don't care if you do that. This is more just fun, guys. I think you know that for me, this whole channel is about having a good time, and it's not something that we're really relying on. It does obviously great brand promotion for Apex. It shares our story and it gets our story out there, but it's something that we really do to enjoy it. That's why Tom and I joke a lot about hitting that 10-minute mark for the ad rev and things of that nature. But it does also present a lot of really cool opportunities to communicate with you guys and to give feedback on the comments that you make. And I hope it's something that we can continue to do because it really is enjoyable. But recently we did a 488 Pista 18-month review, and after my whopping 4,000 kilometers in 18 months that I did on one car, I know that's a pretty low amount, but it's a lot more than some people have, but also less than others. But there was a comment that one of you made that said, it was kind of a smart ass comment to be honest, but it was like, oh wow, a review of the reliability of a car after 4,000 kilometers. I think this is kind of a joke. Well, the reality is that I can take it that a lot of people may not understand that when I say that I've done 150 laps or 140 laps on the Nürburgring with that car, and that's where bulk of my 4,000 kilometers came from, obviously that's gone over the head of the commenter or of the people that don't realize how hard that is on a car. A lot of people will take a car like this and they'll drive it on the street. They'll drive it to get ice cream. They'll take it out for a little cruise with their wife on a Sunday or their husband on a Sunday. And they'll just enjoy the car and then put it in the garage, put it on the trickle charger, and that's the extent of their use. And maybe over 18 months they would have put 4,000 on it. But believe me, 4,000 kilometers doing that, even 10,000 kilometers doing that, is nothing like 4,000 or 3,000 or 3,500 kilometers on the Nürburgring. There's not even a realm of a relationship that you can put to the two situations. I'm going to put a couple things into perspective for you, okay? The Nürburgring is 21 kilometers long, and there is a tremendous elevation change over that 21 kilometers. To give an example, when you leave a turn called Hocheichen, you come on the track, you have Dodinger Höhe, and then you've got a nice series of S-bends, which do put a pretty good load on the suspension of the car. And you come out of Hocheichen, full throttle, and you go all the way to Flugplatz full throttle. You come up the hill at Quiddelbacher Höhe, you let off the gas and slowly on the brake, and then you come into Flugplatz and you're back on the throttle. By the time you get back on the throttle, you're now going to Schwedenkreuz where you're hitting 270 kilometers an hour before you have a heavy braking zone before Schwedenkreuz, before a full braking zone into Arenberg, and then you're back full throttle going down to the foxhole. Now, when you get to the bottom of the foxhole, depending on how fast you're pushing it and how hard you're pushing it, in a Pista, you're easily at 260 kilometers an hour if you want to take it that fast. I don't necessarily need to, but on average, I'm going through the foxhole 230 to 235 kilometers an hour through the compression, okay? The G-forces that are on the car when it goes through that compression, oil systems, bearings, shocks, every single thing that you can imagine, 240 kilometers an hour through a compression is absolutely tremendous. And to do that 140 times is remarkable. Now, that stretch that I gave you has more full throttle sections than not. It's mostly full throttle that entire way. And that's over 3.5 kilometers, okay? So we're going full throttle through that section the length of what some entire GP tracks are, okay? An entire GP track, and we're full throttle the whole way. Carry on through, we've got some great high speed runs. You got going up into Metzgesfeld is a lot of fun. Through Kallenhardt is great, downhill braking zone, hard right-hander, definitely hard on the brakes and hard on the front left wheel bearings and everything like that. Through Spiegelkurve, Piff Paff, you load up the right front so hard, sometimes I can hear the tread, I can hear the tire carcass actually moving as I'm powering through it. I get the front right to actually scrape sometimes in the wheel well. And then you load it up on the other side through Miss Hit Miss, which is a very fast section. Hard on the brakes into Versifen, where you literally see cars with smoke pouring off the brakes by this point, because at this point you're what, 9 kilometers into a lap? Most GP circuits are done with 2 laps by then, and you're not even to the halfway point. You come down into Breitscheid with a steep downhill on the brakes, out of Breitscheid, and starts the next full throttle run up a hill. So from Exmula, which is at Brideside, all the way up to the middle of the carousel, you are again full throttle just about the entire way. You go full throttle out of Bergwerk through Lauter Links, hard on the brakes to Bergwerk, or out of Exmula towards Bergwerk, up Bergwerk, all the way full throttle through Kesselchen and Klostertal, hard on the brakes at Stylstrucke, and then back full gas going up to the carousel. Again, that section from Brideside all the way to the middle of the carousel is over 3.5 kilometers. We've just gone full throttle again for further than most GP tracks are. Okay, and this is still one lap. I'm not even done with a lap, and I've done 2 full throttle sections that are longer than most entire, or not most, but many small GP circuits. Combine them, and there's very few GP circuits that are longer than those 2 full throttle sections combined. We've got to go up Hohe Acht, which is a very steep climb up, through Brunchen, literally jump the car. Okay, the car is coming off the ground and landing again at Flansgarden. All right, I've got pictures of all of our cars with no tires touching the ground. So that means that you're taking a car and dropping it at 170 plus kilometers an hour. Don't talk to me about, oh, 4,000 kilometers, that's nothing to review. I will tell you that if a car is going to brake, you can brake it in the first 500 kilometers on the Nürburgring. There is no doubt about it. In order for a car to take the abuse lap after lap of running on the Nürburgring, if it's going to have a major fail point, it's going to brake, and it's going to brake really quick. We have cars that the cooling systems aren't up to speed, and you find that out on lap 2. That you realize that the cooling is not up to speed. When you're charging up the hill at Bergwerk, and it's a very steep hill, and you're running up, you'll see your temperatures rising. You immediately find out if you have cooling issues. By the time you get that far and you've been shifting up and down, the transmissions are starting to get hot. If your transmission coolers aren't up to speed, you're going to notice it very quick. And this is going to magnify the problems that the car has. If the oiling systems aren't good enough through these compressions, you're going to notice it. There's so many things that will start to happen in this time frame, and a lap on the Nürburgring is actually quite hard on a car. There's a reason that every manufacturer, well, I wouldn't say every, but most manufacturers bring their cars to the Nürburgring. You might see companies like McLaren that don't do lap records. McLaren brings their cars to the Nürburgring. I've seen Corvettes on the Nürburgring. I've seen big boat SUVs, Bentleys, and Rolls Royces on the Nürburgring. I see so many cars on the Nürburgring, and they come out and they do a lot of endurance testing here because it is a track that is very hard on a vehicle. And when we do 3,000 to X number of thousands of laps on a car on the Nürburgring, we're doing a very thorough test of it. Obviously, with something like the Pista, there can be problems that arise later, but we have a pretty good basis after 140 laps as to whether the car is reliable or not. I believe that if a car can go 3,000 kilometers on the Nürburgring without so much as a check engine light, that it very easily should be able to go 30 to 50,000 kilometers on the road with no worries. I would be fully confident in buying a 488 Pista after knowing that it performed the way that I did. If you look at my 488 Pista, you would think it was a brand new car. It looks absolutely immaculate. From paint, fit, finish, to how the car starts, to how it runs, you would not know that the car's been driven that much on it. You take it up, you look at the suspension, the control arms, and it's dialed in. So the Nürburgring is a very special track. The one thing that I will say, and I'm very thankful for it, is that it is pretty easy on brakes. If I take a car on the GP track, I can push the brakes a lot harder. The Nürburgring is very easy on the braking systems. I would say very easy, easier than a GP track where you have a long straightaway main straight that's usually finished off with a hairpin to slow people down. The Nürburgring carries that speed in a lot of places. One of the harder braking zones could be like Arenberg, or it could be going into the Versailles and things like that. But they're limited, and there's a lot of space between them because of these high-powered sections I'm talking about, so it gives your brakes a chance to cool. Good brake cooling really does a lot for you on the Nürburgring because you have a lot of high-speed sections to let that work. But taking a car on the Nürburgring and doing mini laps with it is a very good test of its durability and of its capabilities, and it's a lot of fun too. So I guess I won't complain about getting to do that, but it was a very good question that you had. That seems like a very insignificant number of kilometers to do, but when you consider that it's only been on the Nürburgring, I think that it changes the significance of that value quite a bit. And I think that hopefully this explanation gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. There's, like I said, 3 major compressions where the car does bottom out. That means full suspension to where you're getting the car to completely compress at high speeds. It has one area where you're definitely wheels off the ground and landing at the bottom of a jump. It has multiple areas where you're very light, that is very close to doing that. High speed, full throttle sections uphill where you're using all of the power for, like I said, over 3 kilometers at a time. There's other sections that are pushing a kilometer at a time. And it is a very grueling lap for the engineering of a car, and it's why so many manufacturers are here. So let's look at those numbers for what they are. Let me know what questions you guys have about the Nürburgring, maybe about the loads, how hard it can be on a car, and maybe even the prep that you would like to see in your car for the Nürburgring. Maybe we can help talk to you about that, whether it be cooling systems, brake cooling systems, power upgrades, or driver upgrades. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed a quick little talk about the Nürburgring and I guess car reliability. Let me know any thoughts you might have, and we'll catch you later. Bye.